Hi, my name is Lisa Thompson from southeastern Wisconsin, and I'd like about 5 minutes of your time to talk about the Convention of States. We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, to establish justice and ensure domestic tranquility, provide for a common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty, to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution of the United States of America. I think most of us can agree that our nation has deviated from the ideas set forth by our founding fathers. They felt they needed to distance themselves from the dominance that was England and realized being ruled by a people an ocean away was impractical. Those rulers had no idea what the day-to-day struggles were for an inhabitant of the New World. That disconnect led to the discontentment that caused our founders to look in a different direction and discuss the ideas that ended up forming this nation. Many of us feel the same can be said about these United States today. Our leaders in Washington, even though elected, suffer the same disconnection that our founders saw over 200 years ago. That disconnect has led to a divisiveness which has caused even more distress on our nation as a whole. That begs the question, what can be done to bring us back to the ideas that our founders held so true? We the people need to reassess our views on government. True reform in a republic needs to come from within, and our founders gave us the ability to do so through the second part of Article 5 in our Constitution. It reads, 2/3 of state legislatures pass applications for an amendments convention. Our founders could relate to the reality that our government has become, an overspending, overstepping, overregulating, and overreaching establishment, hampering the progress and interfering with the freedoms of the very people it's supposed to be governing. The Convention of State movement recognizes that and is ready to change it. Here, right now, we and the Convention of States movement nationwide are taking the first steps towards the remedy provided to us. We're looking to encourage our individual state representatives to introduce, consider, and pass the application needed to make Wisconsin one of the 34 states necessary to propose those amendments to resolve the discourse that our government in Washington has created. The Convention of States allows us to reestablish the front line of government to the people that live where we live, work where we work, shop where we shop, and do business with us, not Washington. The Convention of 34 states enables elected officials from each of those states to propose amendments, and those amendments must then be approved by 38 states to become law. Educating oneself about how a convention would work is paramount to getting that application rolling. The Convention of States movement is different from other convention movements in several ways. Instead of focusing on one point, they're looking to propose amendments that will be limited to the following: amendments that would impose fiscal restraints on the government, limit the power and jurisdiction of the government, and limit the terms of office for its officials and members of Congress. As long as 34 of the 50 states can agree to the terms of this application, we can start the reform needed to put the country back on the path that our founders guaranteed us through the creation of Article 5. One example of amendment topic could be imposing term limits on Congress and the Supreme Court. How can we expect elected officials to pass laws limiting their own power? We really can't. One can argue we have the power to vote them out of office. However, we have 14 current members of Congress that have served over 30 years in office. That's longer than most of us work our regular jobs. Indeed, there are many amendments that can be proposed, and there is a thought that a convention of states could radically change our Constitution altogether. The founders, by making the 3/4 or 38 state approval threshold, recognized that a large majority of states would have to agree to any changes put forth by a convention of states. The founders gave us a legitimate path to save our liberty by using elected officials from each state to impose binding restraints on the federal government. We must use the power granted to us in the Constitution to do so. Again, our first goal is to get enough people like you and I to convince our current state representatives to agree to start the application process. We do that by giving you the information necessary to educate your friends, family, and coworkers, so when a state representative needs more information or support, we can let them know how we feel. Whether you recognize yourself as someone with an R or a D behind your name, a liberal, conservative, progressive, or libertarian, you can see and feel that things are really off-kilter in Washington. We can, though, through Convention of States, start righting the ship. If you can relate to any or all of these issues the Convention of States movement is ready to tackle, please click on the link below or contact me directly and we can talk. We the people working together can take back our government. Thanks for listening.